You guys ready? All right, good. What up, world? Welcome to another installment of the Goddamn Podcast, man. I am your humble, gracious host, and I'm here with the team, man. One new addition. We have other familiar faces, but this particular face is much prettier than ours. She is someone who is near and dear to my heart. She's like my baby sister. And I am glad that she is here with us on this particular episode for multiple reasons. And I'm going to allow her introduce herself and whatnot. But this is Party Foul, Rome. Yeah, Party Foul.
And that was
He's
not
kicking
Jimbo.
mice and everything.
That was not Jimbo.
You angry, Rome?
Hey, the music got something.
Oh, okay. You was about to start moving. Okay, I can dig it. But yeah, so no, she's here with us, and you guys gonna see her a little bit more often, hear her a little bit more often. I'm gonna bring her in. We're gonna phase Jimmy out. Yeah, we can't have too many light skinned people on the podcast.
Whatever.
We gotta be able to promote the struggle. You know what I'm saying?
Nothing new.
Yeah, too much light skinned privilege going on. You know what I'm saying? Plus Jimmy working out. Now, how was it today, man?
It was a time. I'll tell you that much.
It was a time.
Yeah.
He had some aggression to get out too, though.
Word.
Yeah. You right.
So, you in the morning? You're a morning workout guy, or
I was in there at 5:15, man.
in the morning?
Yeah.
Okay. Are you set up to where like you feel like if you don't do it in the morning, it's probably not gonna happen?
More than likely.
Yeah, I'm with you, man. You know, the day starts hitting you, and you used to go in the morning a lot, right?
Yeah, every morning.
Yeah. So, what do you like to?
My preference is the morning. If it don't get done in the morning, it don't get done.
It probably don't get done. Yeah. I mean, I know guys who go. You know, Tony and them, they go like at 5, 6. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, I don't get that. That's what I don't understand.
Two
But-
You burn more calories throughout the day if you go in the morning.
Okay. Yeah. Well, and then too, for me, it sets me up when I used to go. It was a while ago, but it would encourage me. It was encouragement for me to eat right too.
Yeah.
About when was this? Because I don't.
This was
Many
a while
moons
ago, man. It was a while ago. But you know what? Hey, man. 2021, new year, new day, man. You know what I'm saying? I've been dieting a little bit more this year. My wife has me on this thing where we do like no carbs one day and then, you know, light carbs another day. So, it's possible you can do it. Another thing I've been doing too is, I've been making my own like breakfast bowls. You guys ever seen like those little things?
Oh yeah.
They're frozen, they're pre-made, they have eggs, potatoes.
The Jimmy Dean joints.
The Jimmy Dean joints.
Yeah.
I make my own. So I roast the potatoes myself, and then I get egg whites, and then they have already like pre-cooked and chopped turkey sausage crumbles. So I just make my own. My mom's calling. I make my own, and it works out because then, you know, I'm a little bit less inclined to hit up a fast food joint in the workday. So I think it's baby steps, man. You know what I mean?
1,000%. Yeah.
I didn't get here overnight. I ain't gonna get back there overnight.
Facts.
Fact.
And that's everything, though. That's everything. It's not just, you know, health and wealth and, I mean, weight and all that other stuff. So, wealth, too. You know what I'm saying? You know, so. Anywho, Goddamn Podcast, man. We are excited to have you guys. Aaliyah, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Where do I start? Okay, well, first and foremost.
How did we meet? Tell the people how we met.
Well, first of all, I mean, you know, I used to think that you were this like celebrity because, you know, you'd be performing at different churches and stuff. And I'm like, oh my gosh,
Lord.
like that's David Golden. Like, I know him. But we met through school. You were my teacher, mentor. Used to stay on me a lot about not completing my quizzes and stuff, but it's okay. You know.
You got through there, though. You got through
did.
there. You got through there.
I sure did with the strength of God.
That's
but-
right. That's right. Our relationship blossomed, and we are here today. She is a member of my family, man, and so glad to have you on, man.
Glad to be
have
here.
you on. You guys know I wanted to attempt to tackle the issue of mental health, and I wanted to start. I wanted to start off a little bit differently than we did last week, but because of what happened nationally, I felt like it was a necessity for us to kind of dip into that. So I want to apologize to everybody who thought that they were getting, you know, a lighthearted podcast last week. Sorry, we got a little bit deep, and it was it was needed though, and that conversation in and of itself was therapeutic. Just talking, you know what I'm saying. So, today we have a actual therapist that's going to be joining us. I'm about to actually call her in, and make sure that she is ready to go. This is the first time I've ever called somebody in on my podcast, so this is going to be fun. My prayer and my hope is that nobody else calls me while I'm doing this, because I've never done this before, but I'm excited about it. Let's see here. Nope, I don't want to do that. I'm gonna set it up. Norm. I mean, not Norm.
Wow.
I know. Forgive me. You got 7-8 inches on him,
And about 300 pounds.
but Rome, if you could please, kind of give us a little bit of an introduction to this guest, just a little bit. Don't tell us nothing she gonna tell us.
Don't tell you nothing she's going to tell us.
Yeah, there you go.
She's not even going to tell you anything.
You don't think so?
No, I don't think this is her cup of tea. But this is the person who molded me into a lot of the character I am today.
Okay.
She is my confidant.
All right.
Oh, she about to hear all this now.
Yeah, she's hearing it. She's hearing it all. She is on the podcast officially. Can you hear us, Mom?
I can hear you.
Okay. Jerome was just giving you an introduction.
Oh, okay. Wonderful.
Go ahead, continue, Ron.
So, she is my moral compass most of the part. I call her and make sure, like, hey, is this right? Is this wrong? How should I feel about this? She is the overall superwoman. I have never known her not to have 2-3 jobs, and I still don't know why she works 2-3 jobs.
Hustler, huh?
She just likes to work. It's what she does.
Hustler.
But this is my first superwoman, first woman I love, my mother.
Okay, awesome. Mama Johnson, can I call you Mama Johnson? Or do I need to like give you like a what title would you like for us to give you while you're on the podcast?
I can go by Mother Johnson.
Mother Johnson. All right. Or we can, you know what, for the podcast, cause
that really sounds like I'm in the church somewhere. and I'm yeah.
Okay, well we'll do Mrs. Johnson for this first episode, but when you come back, it's gonna be Mother Johnson.
Okay, that sounds good.
Hey, so could you tell us a little bit about what you do and what it is that that brought you to where you are as far as your profession and your career?
Okay. So I don't know if my son mentioned what I actually did for a living or not, but
He did not.
Okay. All right. Which is the reason why you brought me on the podcast, right?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So I am a licensed clinical social worker by profession. And so I have been doing this work for probably over 25 years now. I tell everyone that I've actually started this even when I was younger. So I had this professional life where I did it for a living, occupation, but then as an African American, I also have done it probably since I was a child.
Yeah.
So, because that's what we do.
This is very true. This is very true. And so, what made you want to officially go into, obviously, like you said, you've been doing this, your entire life, but what made you want to officially, seek it out as a career?
I actually came about doing it by happenstance, really. By experience, I ended up running into a girl who had some children, and there was an accident that had occurred, and she needed some help. And I said that I did this in my personal life. So her child needed to be rushed down to Riley. She didn't have a car. She was living in poverty. Well, and so were we. But we had a vehicle. She did not. And so she was a friend of a relative. And so I would take her back and forth 2.5 hours away, back and forth to see her daughter whenever I wasn't working and things like that. And I learned during that experience that there was a profession, and you could go to school for it. And at that time, I decided, because after months and saw the way that they treated her, that I needed to do something different. And so that's when I decided to seek out and get into this profession.
Oh, that's dope. One of my I like the end of that story a lot. One of my favorite rappers, his name was The Truth. He said he had a line where he says, "Tell me what drives you up the wall, because your greatest frustration is a problem that you were sent here to solve." So it sounds like that frustration kind of fueled you to jump into the profession.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So what were some of the things that you were seeing that you would consider, like, you know, you said they were mistreating her. What were you seeing?
Well, because of her limited resources, such as being able to get down there to see her child, when she would not be able to go down there and visit with her child that was in Riley for quite some time, they looked at it as
neglect.
Absolutely.
Okay.
And that she was not willing or even interested in her child. Mm-hmm.
Wow. And so that inspired you to be an advocate, and that's dope.
Absolutely.
And that was how many years ago was that?
Oh, I wasn't even in school at that time.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So it was before I even went back to school. I was probably in my early 20s.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's awesome. That's awesome. One of the things that I wanted to kind of start off with, and I don't know if anybody else feels this way, but one of the things we talked about last podcast was the stigma that comes along with therapy. Because one of the things I don't, because you're a licensed clinical social worker, you can provide therapeutic services, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Correct. So the stigma, not just in the African American community, but period, the stigma that comes along with it. So I'm just going to go around the room, and I'm going to start off and I'm going to say I've never experienced professional therapy. It's something that I want to do, but I haven't done that. I think the reason why I want to do it is because I think that mental health should be treated like any other health, field or part of health in your life. So people like Jimmy work out, and he's, getting the physical health thing going on. Some people even subscribe to making sure that you're financially healthy, and your practices and things of that nature. So I don't understand why, we try to neglect the mental aspect. So that's the main reason why I would want to do it, but I haven't done it. Jimmy, have you ever experienced any?
I have not experienced any professional therapeutic services. I crave to, because I just kind of want like an outside party that doesn't have like any bias towards anything that I may feel or say, that could give me a different opinion or a different way to look at some of the things that I deal with. So I definitely want to.
Okay. Sis?
I would say for me, I've never personally had it either, but it's definitely something that I would want to look into, because of, I'm only 19, so I feel like that's an age. I just graduated high school not too long ago. I'm still trying to figure out a lot of stuff on where I want to go, and I feel like, that's kind of one of the stages in life. You don't know what you want to do, and sometimes that can make you lose focus of yourself. So.
Yeah. What do you think, Mrs. Johnson, is the biggest, I guess, reason why a lot of people don't invest in their mental health?
I think, for one, okay. Well, let me say this. 1 out of 4 women usually receive some type of mental health. Out of the United States, 19% of Americans usually receive mental health services. Okay. But in comparison to women, only 13.4 men receive mental health services. And the number gets even lower when you're looking at African Americans. And I think a part of that goes into how we've been raised.
Yeah.
Sometimes it even goes further because of systems that we're a part of, where some people believe that you should go to the church instead of going to someone else, instead of going to someone.
Yeah.
So I think there's just some other personal beliefs that are out there too, in regards to therapy, and some myths in regards to therapy.
Yeah. I would say, and I think me and Ron, we talked about this. I would say that over the past 20 years, the stigma that was, super negative, you know what I mean, back in the 90s and the 80s, from what I can remember, around people, seeking out therapeutic help, that stigma is kind of like, it's lessened. That negativity is kind of lessened. It's a little bit more accepted. Would you say, Ron?
Yeah. I know you always watch like TV shows and stuff like that. One of the shows I just finished watching was like The Sopranos.
Yeah.
And you remember he had
that's how the whole thing started off. Yeah.
And so like that stigma was like still a thing.
Yeah.
I want to say early 2000s.
Yes.
Like we're in 2021 now.
Right.
And so I just think people are just scared of what people think of them going to talk to somebody. Nobody want to be crazy.
Yeah.
And so you go into therapy, you have to admit, like, people think you got to admit you're crazy, but it's not about being crazy.
Okay. Yeah. I know, like I said, I want to do it, and hopefully I get an opportunity to do so. But why would you say it's necessary, Mr. Johnson? Like, why would you say that? Well, let me ask you this, because I had someone tell me this the other day, and I would love to hear your opinion on this. Somebody told me that, and I brought this up on the podcast before, but somebody told me that everyone has a mental health issue. It's just that you may have not, and you may never experience what triggers it to become, a full blown, mental health, issue. So they likened it to the everybody having a carcinogen in their bodies. Those cells that carry cancer, but it's not.
They lay dormant
until the right chain of events happen, and then boom, now you have cancer. They were saying the exact same thing about mental health or mental issues. They were saying that everyone has it, but the right chain of events haven't come in order to trigger, whatever that is. What do you think about that school of thought?
I think everybody has mental health needs.
Needs, okay.
But it also depends on how they're managing and functioning. That will determine whether or not they seek out the help. And as you said earlier, too, I think another, and I didn't mention this before, but another reason why some folks do not seek out help is the lack of health insurance.
Okay.
So there's some disparities regarding whether or not they can even afford some mental health services, because if they don't have affordable health insurance, then that's something that they're just not going to be able to do.
Yeah.
So yeah,
it makes perfect
but
sense.
I think everybody has mental health needs. It just depends on how they're managing it, as well as how they're functioning.
I would say I've experienced. I've never really told anybody this, and I'm not trying to turn this into a session, but I feel like I have experienced moments of depression, like, a phase, a few days in a row where like it just seemed like I couldn't shake whatever it was, and it was in those moments where I really was like, I wish I had somebody to talk to, or to express these emotions, and it was in that time that one of the more recent times that this has happened. Something tragic had happened to me. And it's really not even tragic. I don't even know why I said tragic. It just felt tragic. It felt really bad. Bought a car, had it for like a week and a half, got into a crazy accident. And, I was just so like down in the dumps about it. Like, I was like, I just got this car. Like, and boom, I messed it up. And I just felt like, it was bad, man. I for like 3 or 4 days, I didn't want to talk to nobody, And so I was like, dang, this is probably a glimpse at, what someone who actually deals with for real depression, this is probably like what they experience, quite often, and for mine, like I said, it wasn't even really a tragic, it was a car, like, but still, it's like, just imagine just getting something and then messing it up, you know what I'm saying? And so, I feel for people who struggle with depression. I feel for people who, are going through, whatever they're going through. But I think lots of times one of the misconceptions about mental health is we think that everything is about depression, but that's not necessarily the case, right, Mrs. Johnson? It's not
at all.
It's not just depression. It's not just depression is the reason why you would need to go see, or the reason why you should, invest in your mental health. It's not just about, quote unquote, being depressed. It's more to it than that.
Absolutely. I think, if anything, right now in these days and times, anxiety and depression are more acceptable. And so that's one of the reasons why you hear it a lot. But I mean, we're in a pandemic right now, so there is a lot of depression and anxiety going around right now.
Yeah.
But it's also one of those are two diagnoses that are very much acceptable. They're just acceptable right now compared to something else, or somebody may say that, I've suffered a lot of trauma.
Yeah.
So that's acceptable too. So or grief and loss, a lot of times those are acceptable too, but it just depends on what the person is going through and have dealt with. But yeah, depression isn't the only thing. There's a lot of other things.
So
and some of them are more acceptable than others.
So you brought up the pandemic. I would like to hear from you guys, man. I feel like this pandemic and the world kind of shutting down may have exposed some things to people that they probably didn't know was there, because you had to like sit down. We get so used to, staying, going and being busy, that sitting down with yourself sometimes can be an eye opener. And it seems like if you don't have good mental health, that could be a horrible thing for you to not be able to continue your routine. Did anybody experience any type of, I don't know, did you feel any kind of way during the pandemic? Like, when everything for real shut down?
I think for me, I more so just noticed that I took a lot of stuff for granted, like being able to go and see like people and family and stuff like that, because in that time, it's different when you talk. You can be able to talk to somebody all day,
right?
But when you can't see them, especially, when you're in those time of need where you just need to be around that person and you can't because of the pandemic, it makes you really sit back and be like, okay, like I just have to really figure out who I can be by myself, because I can't go and be with that person. So
yeah,
I feel like I took a lot of stuff for granted as far as that.
Did it force you guys? Did you guys learn anything about yourselves during the pandemic that you didn't know because you had to sit with yourself?
I learned a lot. One thing about the pandemic, for me, I learned that I'm not a fan of being alone. And it's weird because I look forward to having my alone time and just chilling and doing my own thing, but being alone for long periods of time, I get in my own head.
Yeah.
And it was really a blessing, because I was able to kind of process through some of the things that I didn't even know, like I still felt a way about.
Yeah.
Like, for instance, my biological father not being there, I was able to sit and think on that and realize, like, hey, I still feel some type of way about that, and I still struggle with that. And so when it got too deep for me, though, I would just turn the game on or hit somebody up, like, let's link, but
to make something happen.
Yeah. But I did learn that I'm not good to be alone for long periods of time. 'Cause I'm a people person anyway, so
Ms. Johnson, have you seen I guess, I don't know, a spike or any kind of trend since the pandemic has happened in mental health in that field at all?
Absolutely. I think the pandemic, like you mentioned, had us sit down and be still.
Yeah.
And so everybody had opportunities at that point to do some self-reflection, and take a look at how things were functioning in life and all of that kind of thing, as the gentleman was saying. And so everybody, to some degree, I won't say everybody, but a lot of people kind of got in their head and had made the decision that, okay, we need to do something. And so there has been a tremendous spike of people getting into therapy or counseling and working on themselves, or even if they were a married couple,
Oh yeah, no, it was definitely interesting on couples, for sure. Rome, you want to speak to?
Wow.
No, I'm just saying, man. You got kids. You got 5 of them things. Yeah. You got to do schooling. You talked about that before. You talked about the fact that schooling was tough on you. You know what I mean? Even though you wasn't going to school, but the fact that you had to be teacher for, what you got, 3, 4 are in? 3 are in school. Yeah.
I hid from a lot of stuff from COVID. I drank awfully lot during the height of the pandemic.
You too?
A lot. I was masking and drinking and covering up.
I don't know about, I definitely had a lot. I ain't gonna lie to you.
Yeah, so then when I realized I was doing it too much, then my mom helped me find a therapist. She paid for some of them for me because it hit me hard, the pandemic itself.
Yeah. Well, so just out of curiosity, you don't have to answer this if you want to. You work full time. Is therapy not something that's under your health thingy insurance?
It depends on how they pay. And
how okay. It's a lot of hoops you got to jump through.
Yeah, it's a lot.
That's crazy. Like that. So they make it difficult, essentially.
It's a little more difficult than what you think. It ain't like going to the doctor.
It should be though.
Yes, it should be.
It definitely should be.
Going back to a part of the system that is broken, which goes back to some of that institutional racism.
Huh. Explain that for me.
Access.
Access.
Hmm. Yeah. Um, People of color don't have access or have the lack of health insurance if you aren't considered full time or regular, then you don't have health insurance.
Right. See, but
And so,
I'm full time and I have health insurance, and it's not covered in mine.
wow,
Like, mental
That's
health
another.
isn't necessarily like, you know what I'm saying? Or if it is, it's like partial. Like,
Yeah.
yo, we'll knock out 30% for you, but you got to come up with the other 70. You know what I mean? And it's like, it just sucks that they treat it that way. If we're finding out that, it's as big of a need as, you know what I mean, the research says and the research shows, it needs to be put up there with, with everything else. Because, if you subscribe to the idea that, it all starts in the mind, if you don't have that together, then other things will, you know what I'm saying, suffer.
If I'm not mistaken,
Well, and it's not treating the whole person.
Right.
It's not treating the whole person.
Yeah.
In order to have your body right, in order to have your physical rights, your mental has to be right.
Correct. Go ahead, Jimmy. What you about to say?
no, I was just saying. I think with mine is it like something has to happen at work that
Okay.
sends you to get mental health.
Okay.
Like I don't think you can just go and get it. Something has to happen to send you to get it. And they cover like a certain amount of sessions.
Okay. Well, I'm switching. I'm getting a new little situation, man. And this particular situation allows me to get 10 of them. 10, depending on it, if the person accepts the insurance, I get 10 free sessions in a year, or not free, included in the package is 10 sessions. I don't know what I would have to pay outside of those 10, but I'm excited to go to my first session. But I don't know what I'm looking for, because I've never been in this situation before, and I don't feel like I have. There's no issues that I'm aware of. I'm pretty sure that they're there, but there's none that are just sticking out to me. So I'm just excited for the experience. Mrs. Johnson, you told me in the text message that you specifically wanted to talk about black males as it relates to mental health. What are some of your thoughts and concerns in that area?
Well, the concern was having black males be comfortable with going to therapy. We're finding that it's that people are reaching out more and more, especially black males during the pandemic. But the numbers are still pretty low in regards to them even admitting that they have a problem, or maybe struggling with an issue. So I just want them to be able to get out there and get the help that they need, instead of carrying all of the trauma that they deal with on a day-to-day basis, and sometimes even moment to moment, depending upon what job they're involved in, what their life circumstances have been, all of those things. So to go out and make sure that they get the help that they need. Because they're definitely one. There's certainly males that are just and systematically at times discounted and go through some racist actions and discriminatory practices
Yeah.
as a result of the color of their skin.
Can you talk about the trauma? Because I believe in this wholeheartedly. We talked about this on the last episode, but the trauma of seeing or hearing about another black male being killed, senselessly, or dying at the hands of the police, how that could play or plague the mind of another black male.
Well, I'm sure you could probably answer that too.
Yes, ma'am, I could.
But just the fact of seeing someone, seeing a black male die, and you looking at the possibility that could have been you.
Yeah.
As a black man, or seeing someone falsely arrested, or seeing someone being released from being falsely arrested.
Yeah.
And all of the institutions, all of the systems that are around, that unfortunately continues to be in existence.
There's a name for the trauma that you don't experience firsthand, but it still affects you. You know what I mean? So I have been in situations with the cops that were very traumatic, and guns were drawn and things of that nature. But I can understand for somebody who's never been in that situation, but or seeing it happen to people that look like them. There's a particular term, and I'm forgetting the name of it. But a lot of people discredit it. They discredit, they make it seem like, people who don't live this life, obviously, make it seem like, well, it's not you. Nothing happened to you. Why are you feeling the way that you are feeling if it didn't happen to you? And it's like, no, it didn't happen to me this time or directly, but, I still feel that, you know what I'm saying, as if it was me.
Absolutely. And what the term you're talking about in mental health that we use is called secondary trauma.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. Secondary trauma. When we hear or we see some other person that has gotten trauma, had experienced some other traumatic experience, secondary trauma. It's called secondary trauma. And of course, that is something that continues to be plagued for African Americans or people of color when they see different things in the media, especially this year, related to others being killed, hurt, all of that.
Yeah. No, I'm thinking about, like I said, all the videos that we've seen, and it's to the point now. It's crazy. Jimmy, I think you alluded to last podcast. Like, I'm almost numb to, and that's not healthy though.
Not at all.
Like, becoming numb to seeing another person being, killed, and just not having any emotion towards that. Like, that amount of callous is scary. it is very, very scary. And maybe that is all the proof that I need to be in some form of therapy, because it seems inhumane to be numb to something like that.
But you get used to it is the thing. Like you see it happen so often. So you get used to it. Like when the George Floyd thing happened, my white friends were ready to discuss this thing. And like as soon as they saw it, I didn't want to talk about it, because to me it's like it's another one. Like,
Yeah.
and it's sad to say, but it's another one. You know. So I didn't. We to this day I never talked to him about it. For what?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's
to release it, to be able to release it. The things that we hear, the things that we see are traumatic and are definitely going to affect our bodies, because it just goes in, and then we get upset about it, we get mad about it, and instead of just stacking those chips and keep it pushing or keep it moving, we need to be able to release it. And so for African American men, my concern is it just keeps building and building, kind of like a pressure cooker.
Yeah.
And you never have an opportunity to release all of the stuff that you deal with on a day-to-day basis.
And the crazy thing is, we as African American men in 2021, as whack as all of this stuff is that we see, in the world of politics, and that we see all these the social injustice and things like that, man, it don't hold a candle to what they was going through in the 20s, 30s. You know what I mean? I mean, even the 60s. You know what I mean? It does not hold a candle to it. And so, that's generational.
Yeah.
Like, it's generational trauma that we are, unfortunately, having to deal with. It's taking, it's many layers. It's many, many layers. And so, yeah, and I think, like I said, we've just become so numb to it. We don't feel like that there is something there or a problem there, because we don't feel. You know what I mean? We don't feel, and that just can't be healthy. It cannot be healthy. But I can only imagine being somebody in the 50s and 60s and experiencing what they experienced.
Damon, you brought up the intergenerational trauma, and they are saying there's a lot of research now that says that trauma goes back 3 generations. And if you look at my generation, then that would be my great great grandfather, which was probably a slave.
Yeah.
So carrying that to me, it's 3 generations back.
Can you give us an example? Outside of the racism piece, can you give us an example of that transgenerational trauma? Like what's a good sign, or an example of how that thing can transfer like that?
They're saying in the cell.
Oh, really? So it's
in the cells, in your DNA. Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
Wow.
It goes into the cellular. Yes.
Wow.
Yeah. So then really, if you're all the stuff that I've gone through, I'm carrying along with that from my mother and her trauma, and then her mother's trauma, and then her mother's trauma.
Wow.
Which is why I said it goes all the way back then to slavery.
Yeah.
And they're saying that is then in my DNA.
Man, and it sounds far fetched, but that makes sense to me.
Right. Right.
It makes perfect sense to me because other attributes get passed down. You know,
Right.
other things that, you know, oh man, you look just like such and such when you do that, or you know, that's what such and such used to do. You know what I mean, or whatever. You know what I mean. Like right now, you like your daddy right now.
All right, chill out.
But no, I'm sorry. See, that was a defense mechanism. See, I was getting deep, and then boom, I went and I told a joke to lighten up the mood because I didn't want to get, you know, in my feels. Mrs. Johnson making me get in my feels.
You think the cooking came from your daddy?
All right.
Yeah.
Make a mean salad. But yeah, no, that's crazy. What are your thoughts on that, Rome?
It makes sense. Me and her had this discussion before. She tells me all the time, the older I get, the more she sees my dad, my grandfather.
Yeah.
And so, like, the older I get, the more their attributes come out of me. So it makes sense that whatever they have gone through got passed down as well. Yeah. Because I don't see it. Sometimes people literally like, no, you acting just like your dad. And I'm like, no.
Right. Right.
But I get reminded all the time.
Yeah, man, that's tough. And so then when you have it, you know, for black people, when you have it on both sides, when you have that trauma on both sides, it's like compounded.
Yeah, it's a double whammy.
Well,
Yeah.
not to mention, think about this, Damon. We also, a lot of African Americans may have some other ethnicities in them as well.
Yeah.
Remember, such as Indian and Cherokee. I mean,
wow.
so
I definitely got Indian in my
looking,
family.
So you're looking at all those other ethnicities that may have experienced a lot of trauma too.
Yeah. That's amazing. That's amazing. And then you know, you couple that with the fact that it's hard to even find out about our history. A lot of us.
Right.
So now I don't even know if I can go back and, you know what I mean, dig in the crates to figure out where this stuff came from. You know what I mean? Because past a couple generations, there's no record. There's no record. You know what I mean? So, but that's why therapy is important, man. And I want to encourage people. Like I said, I haven't been. I'm excited about going, and I'm definitely gonna do a whole podcast when I go, and I'm going to explain, you know, my experience, you know, if it is appropriate to do so. But is there anything that, okay, so let's say I'm the type of person, Mrs. Johnson, that, you know, I hear what you're saying. I should probably go, but I'm not ready to necessarily walk through those doors just yet. Do you have like any tips or any training exercises that someone can do with themselves that could, you know, lend itself towards helping in their mental health area? That, you know, maybe I'm not ready to walk into an office just yet, but, you know, what are some things that I can do that can help my mental health on my own?
So one of the things that I'm definitely trained in meditation, and so there's a lot of different meditation techniques that not only help you with past painful events or experiences, such as trauma, but there's also some meditation to be able to help you release some of the trauma that you may not even realize, but you are being triggered, and I hate to use that word, but triggered from those painful experiences in the current moment.
Wow. You know, I've actually read an article not too long ago. They were talking about how, like, obviously, like, a lot of us don't remember anything. You know, we can't. I would say, what's the earliest memory you have, Jimmy? Earliest memory that you have?
I don't know. It's probably something to do with my grandma when I was like 4. Like,
okay, so about 4,
3 or 4.
3 or 4. What would you say?
About 3 or 4 years.
They were in this article. They were talking about how in adulthood you could be dealing with trauma that you experienced when you were not even a year old yet. like in your infancy, there was some traumatic things, even at birth. They even talk about, people who had difficult births, how that could, be manifesting later on in adulthood, even though it's not something that you can harken back to and give details about. You know what I mean? It's trauma.
Something about trauma too, that most adults block out trauma. Like you forget or you block it out to protect yourself.
Even stuff that you should remember, you
just block it out. You don't learn from it, and so it's stuck with you, and you don't remember until you bring it out. So you deal with something you forgot about on the outside, but on the inside, your body's still dealing with it.
So you've trained yourself to ignore it, essentially.
She knows the better term. What would that be? Mama.
It's called disassociation.
There we go.
Okay. All right.
The other thing I want to talk about with trauma and mental health and all of that too is there's a lady by the name of Dr. Nadine Burke Harris. She's African American female out of California. She's now, I believe, the Surgeon General in that area. But she has done a lot of research on childhood trauma and how it affects the health outcomes of people. And basically the premise is that if you've had what they call ACEs, adverse childhood experiences, and the higher the number of your ACE score, the more likely you are to experience chronic illnesses.
Wow.
So you're talking about, so if your ACE score out of 10 would be a 8, then the likelihood of you having heart disease is like, I don't want to quote it without being accurate.
But it's significant.
It's significant.
Wow.
Diabetes. The numbers just go up.
Yeah.
And you should have. They look at the score of 4 or more. So it's like, did you grow up and the questions are, did you grow up in a house where someone used drugs and alcohol? Did you see your mom getting hit? Did someone in your household go to prison? Did your parents divorce?
Wow.
There's a lot of those questions there. So, and the higher the number, the more you're likely to have a chronic illness. And we all know, now the funny, it's not funny. It is so not funny. But all of those, there's a litany, there's 10 questions on there, which are really good questions. But like I told them, like I tell people when I'm working with them and I do the trauma, the ACEs with them, one of the things I say, but for African Americans, it doesn't even talk about the trauma related to race.
Yeah,
it's not even on that form.
I'm looking at it, and it says there's 3 sections or 3 types of ACEs. There's the abuse column, and there's physical abuse, emotional abuse, sexual abuse. Neglect, there's a neglect column, there's emotional neglect, physical neglect, and then there's household dysfunction, where there's mental illness in the household, incarcerated relative, mother treated violently, substance abuse, or divorce. Yeah, so there's nothing in there that would, cover the unique experience of being a person of color in America.
Right. Within itself has been traumatic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, that's deep. I probably got about a good 6 of them things. My score would probably be a 6, man. If I'm honest with you, yeah, definitely a 6 for sure. I'll definitely
Which
make sure.
again, go ahead.
No, go ahead. You got it. You said which again?
I was just gonna say, which goes back to the importance of of getting some mental health help.
Oh yeah, for sure. Because everybody, I feel like everybody can get a couple of these. You know what I mean? At least.
One of the things I say all the time is, if you're breathing, you don't suffer some trauma.
If you're breathing, say it again.
If you're breathing, you have suffered some trauma.
Oh yes, for sure. And then it's what's crazy is now it's making me wonder what my kids' aces would be. I don't see that I'm actively
changing anything
or that I'm doing anything that would fall under this list. But what if my child feels emotionally neglected? You know what I'm saying? Like, because I got three different kids. You got 5 different kids. They all got different needs, and you can't treat them all the same exact way because they're all different. And so it's like, you could think you're doing a good job, but that's scary. That's heavy. That's scary. How do you know? You know what I mean? I know I ain't. You know what I mean? There's a lot of these that I don't think me and my wife are ever gonna get a divorce. I know that for a fact. Yeah, and so, but that neglect piece could be, am I neglecting, and not knowing, that's deep. That's super deep. But it goes back to the fact that yes, everyone needs to seek out some form of mental health. So what do you recommend people do? Is there a method to finding the right person? Because I'd imagine it's like picking a barber. Everybody, or a hairstylist is, every therapist is not for everybody. So what do you recommend someone do when they've made the decision? Okay, yeah, I want to go do this. What's my first steps?
So the first steps is usually a lot of therapists usually have like a bio or something that's out there that gives them a little bit of information about who they are. And one of the other things that you can do is just interview them. I don't know about anybody else, but I've always, when I went for a job, I've always had to, not only are they interviewing me, but I'm interviewing them.
For sure.
So interview your therapist to see if they would be a good fit with you. And if you feel that they would be a good fit, then that's probably the right one for you. But if you're not clicking and connecting with that therapist, then you better move on and see if you can find another person.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And how do you know when you say clicking? Because I'd imagine it can't all be pretty and nice. There has to be some type of, I guess, I related to going to the gym. You know what I'm saying? There has to be some type of, not, I don't want to say resistance, but discomfort on some level, right? If you are really peeling back layers.
Right. Well, and a part of that is, so during the, and statistically speaking, they talk about after the second session, African Americans don't go back.
Wow.
So I think I don't remember the statistic right now, but they said after the second session, majority of the African Americans don't go back because they may not feel that connection. So I would definitely say, if you're not feeling that connection during the first visit, then maybe it's something that you need to look at is to go to somebody else. Or maybe after the second session, making sure, if you still don't have that connection, going to somebody else.
Would you recommend? would you recommend a black person seek out a black therapist?
That's hard to say.
Okay, that's it. I've never done it before, so I just kind of want to get your thoughts.
I'm going to say it's going to depend on each individual person. I know a lot of people will say to me, I'm only comfortable with going to another black person, again, because they can understand, they feel as if they can understand their culture a lot better.
Well, Jimmy said that. You feel that way?
Yes, 100%.
So you're not gonna go talk to Dave, the white therapist. You're not gonna go talk to Dave?
Nah, I don't. In my opinion, I don't feel as if Dave would necessarily understand some of the
right. Why you don't like Dave? Go ahead, I'm listening.
Would actually understand some of the things that I feel like I deal with and some of the thoughts that I have. So
yeah,
I would want to go see somebody that looks like me that can relate to some of the same experiences that I've had. That's right.
So that to me that makes sense, because I always had this conversation with educators who we talk about how a lot of black and brown kids are labeled as special needs, or they have learning disabilities, or they are ADHD,
conduct problem.
And it's crazy that the majority of the people who are giving these black boys or these brown boys this label is mostly white women in that field. And so,
young white women.
Young white women in that field. And so what happens is there's two levels of disconnect. One, you are white, this kid is not. And so culturally there's a separation right there. And the behavior, so in black households, we're a little bit more boisterous, you know what I mean? Generally speaking, and that may be seen as aggressive, if you're not from that culture. And then beyond the race piece, you're female. So and I believe any male can relate to this, whether you're black or white. You see some boys, you know what I'm saying, roughhousing or whatever you want to call it, horsing around. I don't know what the term is. You're not going to react to that the same way that a female would. A female will be a little bit more, worried, or, traditionally speaking, in general, a female will probably look at that behavior just a little bit different than a male would. So there's two levels of disconnect to these people who are, labeling these kids. And so that's why I bring that back. I bring that up to say I understand why someone would be hesitant to go to a therapist that doesn't look like them because of the cultural disconnects. You may see something and misinterpret it because you don't have the story that I have, and you can't relate to what I'm, going through. Ms. Johnson, you still there?
I am.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Got silent real quick.
I know. I was nodding my head.
Oh, okay. Well, next time, man, after COVID is over, we're gonna have to have you in the studio.
Okay.
Or the basement. It's really not a studio, but we'll get there one day.
Existence.
There we go. Yeah, we're gonna get there. Well, Mr. Johnson, man, I appreciate your time. Do you want to give us any information as far as where people can find you, and if they are in your area, how they could seek you out? You can give us all that. I don't know if you got any your socials. I don't know if your manager was prepared. He knew for a fact that you were going to be on a podcast, so he probably should have had all this stuff put together. But we're not going to talk about him. You know what I'm saying? Because he's not here to defend. Hey, Ron, how you doing there, buddy? No, go ahead, Mrs. Johnson.
So, I do some counseling under my name is Heartstrings 411 Counseling Services, And I have a website, heartstrings411.com. You can go to that. You can also send me emails at Tammy at heartstrings411.com as well. My phone number is 317-522-9404 if you want to call and leave me a message. And I also want to say that I'm also looking at running a group starting on February the 13th for our Kingdom Men. Looking at running a group of 10 African American men, teaching them alternate skills on how to deal with their stress. Okay. And to be able to release some of that in a way that would be conducive and healthy. Not necessarily exercise, but and releasing some of the trauma that they may have suffered as well too. So it's going to be on Saturdays, starting on February the 13th. For about an hour and a half to 2 hours.
Well, so, I'm definitely wanting to get into that. So I don't know if Rome told you, but I'm definitely ready to jump into that. So I look forward to it if you'll have me.
Absolutely, it does take some commitment because everything that I want to be able to share with the men, it's going to be about 8 weeks. So we're going to jump into some trauma, to teaching you guys how to do some breathing, to some shaking and dancing, and learn a little bit about how your autonomic nervous system works, and how when you get activated and you're upset and mad, or you're, just know that somebody just did a microaggression on you, how to calm yourself back down.
Yeah, Jimmy's come a long way. Jimmy used to have crazy anger issues.
I did.
Jimmy used to be, you
couldn't tell.
Jimmy was... Rome, you have no room to talk. Mister, I hurt my leg again. Yeah, we gonna get into it. We not gonna get into it. We not gonna. But Mr. Johnson, you said something about shaking it down. We gonna do the busted challenge.
What?
Have you done the busted challenge, Mr. Johnson?
I don't know what you're talking about.
Good. None of us do.
Rome knows all about the busted challenge. He done seen everybody's subscription to the busted challenge.
Oh wow!
Yes or no, Rome? Have you seen it? It's been therapeutic, hasn't it?
Oh wow!
Well, thank you so much, Mr. Johnson, for kicking it with us today. I definitely appreciate it, and we appreciate you, and we thank you so much for the wealth of knowledge that you have. Hopefully, we can have you back on again, and we can further this conversation of mental health, man. I think I learned a lot.
For sure.
You learned a lot, Leah?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Rome, you got her in the, in the house essentially. Yeah. So you've known this for a while.
Most of it, yep.
Yeah. Jimmy, you feel good?
I do. Yeah, I feel real good. Yeah.
Yeah.
This was very helpful.
Okay. All right. Well, Mrs. Johnson, we thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
All right. Well, listen, we're gonna holler at you later, Mrs. Johnson. You have a great evening.
Thank you.
And I'm gonna put all your information in the description of the video and in the post and whatnot. So all your website stuff and email and stuff like that, so people have access to it.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you.
All right, have a good one.
You too. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. So yeah, man, goddamn podcast, man. I felt good about that. I learned a lot.
Hey man, don't be calling me out on my anger issues, man.
Bro, you used to be bad, man.
I did, man.
Like, you used to be real bad.
Used
to be like,
I don't know if there's a word to accurately describe.
Yeah, no, there are people though we could probably like, you know what I mean, that we could liken you to.
Okay.
You know what I mean? I don't know. We could probably go like with somebody like what's the dude's name? I forget his name, man.
It's cool. Don't even worry.
Yeah, we're not gonna talk about it. But I'm just saying, you come a long way, man.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, man. He used to get red in the face. You know, he was one who like used to snot and cry. You know, nothing. Nobody did anything. Mills, ooh. You know, the ones that blow real hard and stuff. Like, bro, what is going on? Why are you so? Yeah, I mean, so you know. You know, thank God for progress, man. You know what I mean? So I got a lot of work to do, man. I have a lot of work to do.
Yeah.
Mentally, physically, spiritually, all that stuff. I'm gonna do some meditating.
I meditate every morning now.
You do?
Every morning. I don't touch my phone for the first 45 minutes I wake up no more. I turn off my alarm on my phone. I go meditate every morning.
On the toilet? Yeah.
Word? That's where you're at? That's where you're at with it?
That's where it's at.
Yeah. Release.
Listen, as a father of 5, where's the only place you get some peace?
You right, man.
I can go in there, just sit down on the toilet.
Yeah.
And run the shower like a sauna. And then boom, you get in my little happy place. See? That's where you get peace as a parent.
I'm about to try that, man.
I can't do it in my room. Can't do it in the living room. I have no places.
Yeah. Well, I'm gonna try it, man. Thank you guys so much for tuning in, man. We hope that this was helpful for you. Like I said, this month of January, we're talking about mental health, and I think it's important because we're gonna start the year off with some tools and, you know, talking about what's important, man. If you ain't got your mind right, as we just learned, it's gonna affect everything. So thank you guys so very much. Aaliyah, thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
You coming back?
Of course.
Swag. All right, man. Well, that's it, man. We gonna holler at y'all. Peace.
Peace.
Well, it ended pretty good. Like right there, like when the music stopped.
Oh no, I like that.
You like that?
I like that.
Okay, all right, whatever you say.
The beat go off?
Yeah, the beat went off. I can put it back. You ready to go though?
Come on.
You gonna drop something real quick for the hood? How you want it? What you want?
Just give it to me, baby.
All right, and you gonna go?
I'm gonna cook up, man.
All right, you been asking for this too.
I have not.
You have. You like, yo, man, we should do a whole like little set.
I know, because what we did one day.
We did. Yeah, but I had a little liquid courage in me that time.
Yeah?
This liquid ain't giving me no courage. Ooh. Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, did that beat go off?
Yeah. Big Jim, chillin' in this thing.
In this thing.
Messin' with the bros, we gon' have to bang.
Bang, bang, bang.
No Trey songs, but they know my name.
No, my name.
Rollin' with the realest, y'all really lame.
Y'all really lame.
Look, hit the gym, I'm tryna work out.
Mama.
Hit the gym, I'm tryna work out. Hey, call the plug like what that work about.
What that word about? Hey.
I call the plug with that work about. Hey, every day I put it 8 to 4.
8 to 4.
Then I gotta hit my grind. You already know.
No.
Got the Nikes on, cause I just do it.
Yeah, do.
My flow is water, straight fluid.
Fluid. Oh,
Go stupid.
Go stupid.
Get to it.
Get to it.
What you doing?
What you doing?
Who you doing? Hey,
Hey, what you doing?
yeah,
What you doing?
yeah.
Hey, what you doing?
Yeah.
Yeah. Go on, help yourself.
Give yourself
Invest in mental health.
mental health. Yeah,
Do that real fast.
real fast.
Where you learn that from? The goddamn podcast.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. We gon' do it.
We gon' do it.
Bro said that his flow is really fluid.
Really fluid.
Mine got left back. It's really stupid. Mine got left back. It's really stupid. Oh, that is how it be.
How it be?
You know that it is. Me.
Yeah.
Yeah. That is how it be.
How it be. Goddamn
Go
podcast.
get it, Lee. Why you kill it, yo? Like we, come on.
Listen, I cannot compete with that. Okay, I cannot compete with that at
we
all.
just playing around.
I know, but I can't compete with that.
Dang.
That's the white in me. I can't do that.
Hey, she said she half and half.
Half and half.
I don't know. I'm done.
Come on, Ro.
I'm done.
Yeah. Right, Ro.
Rome, come on, man.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Bust that.
Right.
I ain't got it.
All right, man.
All right.
Goddamn podcast, man. Should I put this in there?
That's a snippet. That's mental health. That's a snippet.
Mental. It's what you do after you have a serious conversation about mental health. You just freestyle real quick.
Freestyle.
And just see how it goes.
Gotta lighten the mood up again.
Yeah, man. It was deep.
Hey, we've been heavy for the past 2 weeks, man. I need you to.
All right.